Bernie Sanders has proposed the way he's going to pay for the Green New Deal is to tax and to sue the fossil fuel industry trillions of dollars. What happens when the fossil fuel industry is eradicated? Where do we get the money then to pay for the Green New Deal in the next 10 years?
That I don't know. I mean, I have no idea where they can come up with that kind of cash.
What's going on, guys? Drew Hernandez here with Lives Matter. I'm here at the Bernie Sanders rally in Southern California at the Los Angeles Convention Center. We're going to talk to socialists, we're going to talk to Bernie supporters about just exactly how Bernie Sanders is going to pay for his astronomical plans. But before we begin, we've been extremely demonetized and deboosted on YouTube. If you want to donate, you can donate in the links below, one time or monthly. Support Lives Matter to support independent journalism. Let's see what happens. I know Bernie Sanders is proposing the Green New Deal, free Medicare, right, for all, free housing, free education. According to Bernie's numbers, between 10 years, a 10-year span, that's going to cost between $50 to $100 trillion. The way he proposes to pay for that is by taxing millionaires, taxing multi-billionaires, and taxing multi-billionaire corporations.
Right.
What happens if those multi-millionaire and billionaires and corporations leave the country? Where does all that trillions of dollars come from then?
A, I don't think that's going to happen, but B, if it does, they aren't American in the first place, and they should be paying their fair share. There's no other way around it, but I also think there's other ways and places he can get the money. There's a lot of other places that money can come from, but anybody who leaves the country because they're getting taxed higher, to hell with them.
Gotcha.
You know?
Gotcha. Lastly, the Green New Deal, right? The Green New Deal does say that within the next 10 years, the federal government plans on eradicating the fossil fuel industry, right? For cleaner air, less CO2 levels. Bernie Sanders has proposed the way he's going to pay for the Green New Deal is to tax and to sue the fossil fuel industry trillions of dollars. What happens when the fossil fuel industry is eradicated? Where do we get the money then to pay for the Green New Deal in the next 10 years?
That I don't know. I mean, I have no idea where they can come up with that kind of cash after the taxation of the fossil fuel companies. Hopefully they figure out a way to fund it, you know. I don't know how they're going to fund it exactly at this point, but I'm sure, hopefully, he has a plan beyond taxation of the fossil fuel companies. So
Bernie is awesome, and he represents the diversity of America, man. So that's why, you know what I mean? You see this is America, right? You see diversity, black, brown, white, yellow, whatever it is, man, red. This is what America's about. So I've been to Trump rallies. You don't see that diversity. You know what I mean? And that's why I support Bernie. You know what
Gotcha.
I mean?
What's your favorite policy that Bernie Sanders is running on in 2020?
The higher minimum wage is one, and then the universal health care. Yeah.
So Medicare for all.
Medicare for all, yeah.
Gotcha. So according to Bernie's numbers on his website, it's going to cost for Medicare for all, for the Green New Deal, for free housing and free education, all this free stuff, it's going to cost between $50 and $100 trillion in 10 years.
Sure.
So part of the way he plans on paying for that is taxing multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, and multi-billionaire and millionaire corporations over 10 years.
Right.
My question is, what happens when those multimillionaires, billionaires, and corporations leave the United States and take their wealth? Who gets stuck paying for those taxes at that point?
I don't know. I mean, who knows? I don't know. But if they leave, I mean, you know, if we make a policy where they can't take all that out of the country, which
you would pay for it.
Okay.
The middle class and the lower class would end up getting paid. Would end up having to pay for that, and their taxes would go way above 50% because this is trillions of dollars. Trillions of dollars.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so. I seen that 52% thing on Facebook. It already got.
No. I'm saying if the multi-million dollars and billionaires, that's how he's going to pay for it.
Okay.
If they leave, that causes a big vacuum in the United States of no money coming in. So who gets stuck paying for that?
Well, they don't pay taxes anyway.
They do. In the Green New Deal, it does promise to eradicate the fossil fuel industry in 10 to 12 years, correct?
Yeah.
But the Green New Deal, he does also propose the way to pay for it is to tax and sue the fossil fuel industry for the next 10 years. So I guess my question is, how are you going to tax them and sue them in 10 years if you eradicate them? Where's that money going to come from then?
I think it's coming from those companies, and also as part this is kind of a parallel, but the opioid crisis is being paid for right now by pharmaceutical companies that are being sued for $50 billion nationwide. I don't know that you can necessarily sue them for that, but I also think that I know.
Well, that's what Bernie said he's going to do.
I know that there's companies right now that are trying to make green renewable power, and they're being shut down by state industries who are telling them, oh, you can't sell that here because we need our state, the city of Kansas City, Missouri, for instance. They shut down solar plants. The solar plants there aren't allowed to sell to Missouri residents. They have to sell to residents in other states.
I'm a big supporter of socialism and democratic socialism, and Bernie's the only candidate who's willing to be open about socialism and things like free healthcare and college for all, and I really support that.
I know according to Bernie Sanders' website, his own policies, it's going to cost the federal government for the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, free housing, free everything, free education, between $50 to $100 trillion in a span of 10 years. Part of the way he plans on paying for that is by taxing the wealthy, right? Millionaires, multi-billionaires, multi-billionaire corporations. I guess my question is, what happens if those multi-billionaires and millionaires and corporations get fed up and they leave the country? This is trillions of dollars we're talking about. What happens if they get fed up and leave? Where does all that money come from then?
Well, I think that we overfund the military, so probably the funds that we put into the military we can reroute into all of the...
That's true, but that's already part of how he plans on paying for the totality of it. This would cause a void in the budget. So where would that trillions of dollars come from if the military, right, cutting expenses is already going to be poured into it? Where's the rest of the trillions of dollars going to come from if all these multimillionaire and billionaires leave the country? It's a genuine question to ask, right?
Yeah. Well...
Do you want an answer?
I mean, if they leave the country themselves, that's them as individuals, but their entire corporations, a lot of them...
would go with them.
Yeah, but their entire corporations are here. It would not be profitable for them to all flee the country. So I feel like it would be best to tax the wealthy in a way that averages it so that they are getting taxed the equivalent that people with lesser incomes would be taxed. It's the same equivalent, but it's because they're very wealthy. It's a lot more money, but it's the same equivalent as it would be to tax a less wealthy person.
Last question. I know Bernie Sanders is running on the Green New Deal. Climate change, very important, right? So part of the way he plans on paying for that is by taxing the fossil fuel industry and suing the fossil fuel industry. This is all on Bernie's website, correct? So he plans on paying trillions of dollars by suing and taxing the fossil fuel industry. The only problem with that is the Green New Deal does declare that he plans on eradicating the fossil fuel industry within the next 10 years. So how are you going to tax the fossil fuel industry if you're going to eradicate them? Where's that trillions of dollars going to come from then?
I think you can go first.
You sue them first, and then you tax them and then sue them, and talk, and not really just...
But the problem with that is it has to keep being paid for after the next 10 years when you eradicate them. So yeah, we might be able to tax them trillions of dollars the next 10 years as they exist, but if you eradicate them in 10 years, then where is that trillions of dollars going to come from?
They already have a huge amount of money.
So socialist Bernie Sanders, it seems that they got capitalism well at play out here. They're selling t-shirts for a profit. I'm assuming that the campaign is not going to distribute the profit to all these people here. It looks like here at the Bernie campaign that they're practicing capitalism. I don't get it. The Green New Deal, right? According to Bernie's website, it's going to cost around $16 trillion in 10 years. Part of the way that he wants to pay for that, trillions of dollars, is actually taxing the fossil fuel industry and suing them trillions, right? Right? The problem with that is the Green New Deal does say that within the next 10 years, they plan on eradicating the fossil fuel industry. So if you eradicate them, how are you going to tax them? Where's that trillions of dollars going to come from?
Because you're building and creating new green jobs all along the way. That's a part of the New Deal.
So you tax the new green jobs?
Exactly, yes. You're creating a new industry. You're creating something that's going to replace the old. That's called a revolution. That's called evolution. I grew up in a little place called Lime, Ohio. Two things that come out of Lime, Ohio: oil and tanks. None of these things are necessary right now in the world we live in. We have tanks that are just pork-boiled into the budget to go ahead and keep this little town going on. They need to go ahead and change, not only away from oil in this little town that I grew up in, but go ahead and move away from the industrial complex that's where it keeps subsidizing as well.
I know according to Bernie's website, his policies, the way he plans on paying for the Green New Deal, Medicare for all, free housing, free education, is going to cost him between $50 and $100 trillion in 10 years. So part of the way that Bernie plans on paying for that is taxing the wealthy. Multimillionaires, multi-billionaires, and multi-billionaire corporations.
Right.
So my question, are you for that?
Oh, absolutely.
Gotcha.
That's
So-
the main thing. That'll solve everything.
Gotcha.
I mean, if you made $20 million a year, would you have a problem giving a couple cents on every dollar past that? What the hell? Who wouldn't? I mean, what kind of...
Well,
humanity
Bernie's
is that?
tax does say that it will be taxes on top of what they're already taxed. So
Well,
I guess
okay.
my question is, let's just throw a scenario
They
out
made their
there.
money here.
What happens if those multimillionaires and those multi-billionaires and multi-billionaire corporations get fed up with the taxes and they leave the country? What happens then? Who pays for that void? Who gets stuck paying for those trillions of dollars over the 10-year span?
They made their money here, and if they don't have enough humanity to be willing to pay more money, they made their money off of the middle class and everybody else.
That's what I'm saying. What happens if they leave? If they get so fed up, they
the
leave?
country?
It happens. It happened in Venezuela.
Venezuela. That's Bernie Sanders.
Just think about it.
social
Just think about it.
democracy.
What would happen if these individuals left and took their wealth? Who would get stuck paying
You
those
mean,
trillions of
How
dollars?
many billionaires are in this country? What'd they say, 2,000 or 7,000 or something like that? In the whole country.
But that's how Bernie plans on paying for all of these astronomical ideas. What happens if they leave? Who gets stuck paying for that?
Well, you think they're going to leave?
It's happened in history, yes. It's happened in Venezuela.
Well, social democracy, I mean, this is a social, we got highways and fire departments and all that, social security. They want to keep taking money. There's got to be a movement to change all that. To change it, it's got to be radical. And people have to be willing to, I'm willing to pay more in taxes a little bit if it would help everything. Why aren't the rich people willing to pay a little bit more? Trump did that tax cut, everybody went for it. All the rich people went for it. It benefited them.
Gotcha. I know Bernie Sanders has proposed also that the way he's going to pay for trillions of dollars of the Green New Deal is by taxing and suing the fossil fuel industry, right? The problem with that is Bernie has also said in the Green New Deal that within the next 10 years, he's going to eradicate the fossil fuel industry. So how are we going to pay for all these trillions of dollars if you eradicate them? Where's all that money going to come from?
He's going to train other people within a 5 year, I think he said 5 years, to training to do new jobs, new jobs, and for them.
So we tax them?
Tax who?
I'm trying to understand what you're saying. Who do we tax? If the fossil fuel industry is eradicated, how are you going to tax them?
Well, if we don't do this, our world is gone. I mean, the climate, it's scientists, they know stuff. I have a faith that somehow this is going to work itself out.